Once again, good afternoon, everybody in uh, the seminar hall and also in the online. Yeah, this is a very special day in the sense that we are very much recent days, lot of the research institute and agriculture universities or any research and development centers are struggling for fund, even for the salaries, there is a big challenge to the managers, vice chancellors or the director or maybe. Now they ask for how the earlier released fund is useful. What is the impact you have created in your research work and the institution development and to the society as a whole? This is the big question raised by these all stakeholders and the administrators from even the state and central government or the ICR bodies. So in that angle, we are very blessed with Dr. Raju, senior scientist from ICR, Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, Bangalore. Is a well-known economist and is lot of works related to the impact assessment studies, and also we had lot of guidance also, and also they have provided lot of informations. Director will come and start these guest lectures.
Good morning, everyone. Once again. So as part of the visit of Dr. Raju, senior scientist, Division of Social Sciences and Training, IHR Bangalore. So it is also planned to have a guest lecture on his own expertise. I think most of you might be knowing, so in the before start of the Viva House of Madarina, Prof. has introduced Dr. Raju. So he is one of the well-known agricultural economists in the country, and he is from Indian Institute of Horticulture Research. So he graduated UG and PG from US, Bangalore, and then PhD in IRA. So IRA is, of course, you all know, I need not say it's one of the premier institutes, okay, as far as the agricultural sciences is concerned. And also as far as agricultural economics is also concerned, he is one of the, so the premier institute. Really, we are fortunate enough to have Dr. Raju here, so we are using the services of Raju effectively as part of his visit to TNAU as an external examiner. So whenever, as an economist, whenever we talk to the bioscientists or government bureaucrats or policymakers, we are actually justifying our role, particularly in conducting the impact assessment. Okay, so the impact assessment is that can be effectively implemented and then executed and come out with the solid findings by an economist. So even the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank and most of the international organizations, they have their own impact evaluation team, but essentially the impact assessment team or impact evaluation team, or say for example World Bank has its own team, independent IEG, independent evaluation group. Okay, so usually the impact evaluation team or impact assessment team will be a multidisciplinary team. Okay, so it is, for example, all agriculture projects, essentially there will be one soil and water conservation engineer, one agronomist, one environmental economist, environmental scientist, and then some sociologists. Okay, but all will have, but essentially the team will be led by an economist. All the World Bank funded projects, the ADBs, everything. So in that since so we are I'm very happy that Dr. Raju is an expert in impact assessment, and so as a scientist of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, he has been involved in assessing the impact of ICR, so the research, impact assessment of ICR research. So ICR institutes, they have, so the crop specific institutes, directorates, there are different research institutes are there. So they have done a good impact assessment study of ICR research and come out with a solid output. Okay, like what we had done so in the recent past. uh, so I hope he would like to share some of his experiences with impact assessment of agricultural technologies. So this is actually currently a very important topic to be covered, and also current policy relevance. So on behalf of the Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, the Center for Agriculture and Rural Development Studies and the Department of Agricultural Economics, I welcome Dr. Raju, the senior scientist, to deliver an expert lecture on impact assessment of agricultural technologies, and would like to and request him to share his experiences. Both see, impact assessment is not a impact is not a is everyone talks about impact, but it's not easy. So defining impact itself a very difficult task. Okay, it's very difficult. So we are very keen to listen to Dr. Raju. I invite Dr. Raju to deliver.
Very much for your great introduction of a small man. Uh, they have worked in different fields, starting from dairy to agriculture, including natural resource management. Everything I have put into these slides. What I thought and sir told, majority will be the students. So I kept in mind the student perspective, and in that sense, I prepared few slides. Though title is impact analysis, but I have kept only few slides on impact analysis. Rather, I have divided my presentation in different parts. It may not be linked to each other, but from the student point of view, I think it is helpful for their future. So here I try to say something on personality development of the student, because no university teaches what you should be and how you should develop your personality. Okay, and then next is I'll give some brief overview of the agriculture situation of the country, because after completion of your masters and PhD, once you go to the interview, you may face some difficulties in answering the situation. Okay, so just to brief you, what is the current situation of the agriculture from of our country, and then next I decided few slides on what is impact assessment, why it is required, and then finally I try to share because I have worked for 10 years in Central Soil Salinity Research Institute. It's a natural resource management institute of ICR, and I'll share some of the technologies which are developed by the institute, and we did some small scale impact analysis of those technologies, because nowadays we work on different aspects. Okay, we forget our own issues. Like what I mean to say, suppose university had developed n number of technologies, but one fine day to show the other experts, we don't have nothing. We don't have anything to show them. What is the impact of those technology? How much area it has covered? Okay, so who are the beneficiaries? So these kind of things that we made. You can go through my articles in different aspects that we have worked. Okay, here only a bit I have covered of my research. So let me start with this. How many of you have reading habits? Everyone reads to get the degree, isn't it? Apart from that, I said something on personality development. Have you read anything? apart from your studies, class notes, books, any general. Most of the time I start my lecture with this slide. How many of you know this story? Can you raise your hand? Clue is also given. What happened? How many of you know this story? Maybe in your childhood you might have heard, read. No need to look mobile now. What it says? How stories you have read and what moral you have developed for your life? Nothing. It's okay. Now onwards you start reading. So this is the story of the blind man and an elephant. How this different blind men describe an elephant, because they are already blind, they don't know, they have something in imagination. So what will be the elephant? By touching some parts, they explain that, oh, this is elephant, this is elephant, this is elephant, and finally they started arguing. This is the story of this blind man and elephant. It means everyone is right in their own perspective. But in this story, all are right, what their imagination or in their own perspective. Most of the time what we do, we don't listen to others. Whether true or false, we start arguing. So the final moral is, we have to respect and listen to others, because everyone has a different opinion about anything. Okay? Some of the personality development books you must read as a student. Have you read anyone these books? Have you heard about this? Each book says different stories of your personality development. These are the books by Shiv Khera, very popular books. Being a student, you must read, at least now onwards. If not all, at least you read any one of the books. If you want to recognize in future as a successful man, you just start reading. Okay, what it says in the first book, winners don't do different things, they do the things differently. Just imagine in a question paper given by your teacher, everyone writes the answer, but the one who writes in a different way, he fetches the marks. That's all. In life also, no need to do different things. Do the thing differently. Instead of mugging and copying notes in the examination center, you just try to develop your own answer and write it. Everyone appreciates. And this is what in higher competitive examination they expect, like IAS and other kind of thing. In second book, what they have given, live by design, not by default. You have to design your life. Don't live by default, isn't it? Now you have the capacity to rule the world. This energy is sufficient enough to claim the Mount Everest. Have you read the story? One girl, I think Arunima something, she broken her leg and she claimed Mount Everest. These are the great example that one have to fix in our own life for the successful career. In third one, they say results are rewarded, experts are not. What is that? Efforts are not. Most of the time, where it is relevant, most of the time we say, or we lose an examination with by 0.5 marks or 1 marks. But people won't appreciate you. Those who has crossed, has gained 1 marks more than you, but he got success and he will be rewarded. Though you might have put a lot of effort, but you are not successful. So you are not, efforts are not rewarded. So this is how you have to gain success in life. This is a sentence given by this Shiv Khera. What he says, the best teachers will not give you something to drink. They will make you thirsty. That's what we can do in the classrooms. Early, maybe from 9 to 4 or 5, Only this much you can do. After that, it's your wish that what you want to be. They will not give you answers, but it will put you on a path to seek answers. It is left to you whether you want to seek answers or not, isn't it? So it is your life, you have to decide. Some of the best books in the world on personality development, you just, if you get time, you just go through this. What it says, if you think you can, you can. And if you think you cannot, you cannot. And either way, you are right. Do it or not. Okay. You get 100% marks or 50% marks. You will get the degree. It's left to you. After getting degree, what you will do, that you know. Hmm?
First grade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
5 was the first book I read. So that is the book everyone should read. All should read that. Okay. Dale Carnegie. So his version, Tamil version is also available. Okay. Translated version is also.
This is already too late for you people, but better late than never.
Yeah.
You just start reading. Okay.
Everyone has to read it. Definitely you will be inspired fast. Okay. Very much inspiring book.
Start reading some of the autobiographies. How many of you read any autobiography? No. Then who will read your autobiography? Hmm? Have you heard about these autobiographies? Hmm? The first thing, during Second World War, that young girl was written this book. Until today, it is most popular autobiography in the world. And the second one, about Gandhiji, is the cheapest autobiography in the world. Maybe 20 years back when I purchased it was 20 rupees. And now it's maybe around 200 or so. Cheapest autobiography in the world. About Nelson Mandela, have you heard? He was in jail for prison for 27 years and became a successful president of the country, first president, South Africa. Then Wings of Fire, at least you should read this book because the person is from our own land. There is an inspiring story in this, sir. I hope you remember. During the initial days of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, when he was working for ISRO, when Dr. Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister, and we all know that he is a successful man. And she called one day him for a meeting with her, with the Prime Minister. And he was, though he is a successful man, as an engineer, he was hesitant to go to that meeting because in the story, that autobiography, he says, though he is a successful man, he didn't have a proper dress to wear and sit in front of the Prime Minister. And now imagine he was the first person became a president of India. First person in the sense, generally we call president as a first person of the country. So this is the success, this is the achievement. And the last one, the youngest girl who got Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 17 years. Everything is there. We are not utilizing. Try to read some stories, autobiographies, so that the next generation may read your autobiography. You have every potential. Okay? With this, let's have something on agriculture. We all know that. So few slides which says where we stand in comparison to world agriculture. We all know that India is the seventh largest country and having a second highest arable land after USA. Population, already we have reached 140, but for the comparison sake, I have taken the data of the 2018-19, and still you just see this figure, 26% of the world's population in India is living in villages. That's why India is called a country of rural, this one, okay? Country of villages. You see the situation, maybe it may help you when you go out for any interviews and all. So where we stand in most of the things like in food grain production, we stand either first, second, or maximum third next to China and some other developed countries. In fruits and vegetables, again, we stand second next only to China. Even livestock, we all know, okay, we are having the world's highest buffalo population, followed by cattle, which where we stand second, and like that. Even in animal products, milk, we are standing first in production in world, and egg and meat, third and fifth places. Now you see in economics, we always say study the factors of production. And the first major factor that we consider, that is, what are the factors of production? That is land. Land is a major constraint that we have because everything we can increase, but not land. So out of 328 million hectare geographical area, almost 23% of the forest, and how much left? Our net zone area is around 140 million hectares with a cropping intensity of 151%. Just now we had a lecture on, PhD thesis on irrigation. Okay, we are meeting almost more than 50% of the irrigation by canals and tube wells. This is the situation that I'm just to bring into your knowledge. So if you look at this area production productivity of food grains in India, you just see the graph, red and green, how best it has moved, and you see the blue one, it means in area compared to 1950-51 till today, we are hardly able to achieve 31% or able to increase 31% of the area. With this limited land resources, okay, we have to meet the population one fine day, maybe shortly, or it is already exceeded China's population and we are being number one. To meet the full food requirement for this growing population, we have to meet from this limited land resource only. So how? By increasing production and productivity. That is there, we are in a continuous process. But when compared to the developed countries, still we are far behind in increasing our productivity and all. So similarly for horticulture crops, we have done a great achievement. Okay. When you look at the food grain production and horticulture, horticulture has already surpassed food grain production. Even fish production, we have achieved a lot when compared to initial days. Milk production and per capita availability of milk, almost 150% and 300% we have increased. Even after this, why I showed this picture? Sir, there was a study from Dr. Kumar, you might be knowing, he was a professor in IRI. Long back in 2016, he has estimated a demand. Now, after him, I don't think anyone has done this kind of studies because he was very much expertise in this estimating the demand and supply kind of things. And during those days, he estimated during 20 and 30, what will be the situation? What will be the supply of these different things and what will be the demand and where we are facing the demand supply gap. So in this fifth column, you can see that he has said that during 2020 and 2030, what it will be, how much we are facing sort of. In some of the things, there is positive figure and in some of the things, there is negative figure. But you see, what I want to show here is, in the last column, production of this advanced estimate of 2022-23, we have already crossed the marker which they the forecasting said this is the requirement, but in 2022-23 itself we have crossed the marks. Means we have
excess production in most of the things except wheat production that hardly short by 2 million tons. Okay. Why I am showing this? You see, even after all these achievements, if you look into this below poverty line population in our country, it is around 22%. Of course, we know that it is for food grain production and production of any other agriculture related thing. It is not only the criteria to estimate the poverty, it is people's purchasing power and other things that decide the poverty level. But what I mean to say, even after all achievements, our country is still facing. Maybe it is a lack of distribution problem of food grain, or maybe people might not having the higher purchasing power for getting this requirement. And most of the states, even northern and northeastern state, they are having around 30 or more than 30% of the population below poverty line. So this is the way we have to think of how to make it uniform or how to reduce this poverty line with available resources like food grains and all. Even if you look at this multidimensional poverty index in India, sir, we are far behind this developing countries. Now, recently you have seen the situation of the Sri Lanka, Pakistan and all, how they struggle to get a meal. Okay, but compared to those countries also, we are very far behind this in estimating the multidimensional poverty index. And what are the criteria they use for estimating this poverty index? Mainly in three different dimensions they have estimated: health, education, and standard of living. And if you see health, when it comes to health, what is required? Food and nutrition. And nutrition is a major drawback that is contributing more to the multidimensional poverty index. Next to the year of schooling. What is the literacy rate of our country? Any idea? What was it during independence? It was hardly 16%. And now we are claiming more than 70-80%. Though recent census are not done, otherwise it had gone around 90%. But that is also a major contribution. Okay, that is saying something about the poverty index. And you know, as per 2011 census, around 55% of the rural population that is depending on agriculture. If that is the case, then how can you expect that your poverty level will increase? Because you know, be stable. Most of the time we refer for our thesis and all. Majority of the farmers in our country, they are small and marginal. Almost 86% holding only 47% of the land, and with the average holding 0.89 hectare. So is it sufficient to get rid of this? That is the cause of concern. Regarding the contribution of GDP, see, since 2004-5 from agriculture sector, we are almost remaining same. GDP contribution around 19%. But you look at the industry, it is going down. On service sector nowadays, it is increasing. Sir, when I was doing PhD at IRI, I attended one interview in Confederation of Indian Industries. During those days, like the students, I might not be having some much idea about this. He asked one question. Though we are self-sufficient in food grain production and over the years our production is increasing, but when come to GDP contribution, we are far behind than other sectors. So what is the reason? What is the reason? Can anyone say? Obviously, when other sectors are growing, though we are self-sufficient or the highest food grain production, the contribution at the money level, okay, financial aspect, that remains same. Because the other sectors are bypassing this thing. If you see the situation of just 30-40 years back, service sector was nothing, but now it has overtook all the things. Even in doubling farmers' income, you might have read, okay, the government of India has the major target of doubling the farmers' income. What they said, to double the farmers' income as compared to 15-16 till 2022-23, there should be an annual growth of about 10.41% in farmers' income. Then only it's possible to double it. Most of the time, our Prime Minister has given some success stories also. He has conducted many programs and presented success stories also. But it is not at the country level, but to some extent, some farmers, they have succeeded and they have not double more than that they have achieved. And they describe some of the major sources of growth for doubling the farmers' income. That is productivity, resources efficiency or saving in cost of production, increase in cropping intensity, and diversification towards high value crops. And just now we have seen high value crops, mainly we think of this commercial crop that I already showed. This horticulture sector has already surpassed this agriculture sector. So these are the different things. Diversification, again, why this word came? Because you know in North India, sir, except rice and wheat, they won't grow any crops. And due to that, the water level is going down. Keeping in mind the ecological constraints that future generation will face, they suggested this, and they're targeting a lot for implementing these diversification models, especially in North India. And there are n number of government programs or schemes that is launched by central government that for helping the farming community. You should know this thing. For your sake, I am presenting, not for the teachers or for myself. Okay, at least you should know what is going on in our country. When you tomorrow when you attend some interview, these are the things that will help. I'll not go into details. Now I come to this actual presentation of our today's topic, impact evaluation. Our university had done an impact evaluation. How many of you read this? At least we should know what is happening around us. What our division is doing, isn't it? So what is impact evaluation? Sir, any students has conducted any studies on impact evaluation?
Yeah, earlier, not now.
Okay.
Years ago, we called students to assess the impact of policy on students.
Because nowadays government is very keen to know what is the impact. Suppose if he is providing degrees to you, okay, after spending almost providing all infrastructure and all spending on that, what is the output that you are coming out of that? What is the outcome and what will be the impact? I'll show you some in a pictorial manner how what is impact and all. So it's a study that attempts to measure the causal impact of a project, any program or any policy, an outcome of interest to government and other interested parties. Tomorrow you might be think that I should know the impact of this technology of this institute. Maybe you might have heard here and there the popular technologies of TNAU. Then what is the impact? What changes that it has made in the farmers' lives? What is its contribution at the country level in terms of area spread or income generation? So this is who are the interested parties in this? Maybe even foreign funding agencies want to know. So what is the contribution before funding to you for any project and all? So this is the way you can show the impact. Mainly the government of India or any state government, they are implementing n number of government schemes. So what is the purpose? Why they spend a lot of money for this? Until and unless they know the impact of these technologies, they won't come forward for funding. They think when, suppose immunization, you just see health sector, what was before 50 years and what is now. So what is the purpose that they are spending on this health infrastructure? To keep us healthy. If we are healthy, we can do something and can contribute to the society. This is the, it's not direct, it's an indirect way. They know that. So this is how the people are going to help us. Impact assessment, it is an intervention. It ensures us if any program or any policy or any project, that whether it is technologically feasible, economically viable, most of the time we use these terms, especially in project analysis kind of thing. Socially acceptable, because most of the time whatever we do or whatever the technology we develop, whether it is acceptable by the farming community, and environmentally sustainable. Sustainability is now a major issue that everyone talks. So this is how we think of and we carry this impact evaluation kind of thing. Not necessary that most of the time your impact should be positive only. It may be a negative, it may had a negative aspect. Because you know that during Green Revolution, what happened? Our only concern was to increase the food grain production. And later what happened? The negative effect of those excess use of pesticides and fertilizers and irrigation water. Now we are trying to rectify that, isn't it? So it may not be positive, it has some negative impact also. Later it will come to know. Sometimes it is direct or indirect. Just now I gave an example of your health sector. It is primary or secondary. Okay. If not now, in future it will help. Sometimes it is intended or unintended, planned or unplanned. Okay. And then it has some short, medium or long-term effect, that impact. So what are the benefits of impact evaluation? You can read, it provides a valuable guidance on whether to adjust, expand or end specific projects, programs and policies. Most of the time the comment comes whenever the government of India introduces any scheme, even MG Narendra. Have you read any papers on that? MG Narendra, I don't know whether you are aware or not. It was started in 2005-6. And afterwards, there was a lot of negative impact that has happened on the labor class. Because there was a condition that in MG Narega, minimum, employment that should be provided for 100 days or something like that. The people used to get easy money from there and they stopped going to the field. So that is the negative impact of that MG Narega scheme. So during that situation, whether we need to modify or expand or end of these specific projects, so this kind of impact studies will help. It leads to transparency and accountability. Suppose if you have spent so much money for any implementation of any programs and all, and if you are not doing any kind of research on that to get the feedback of either positive or negative, then that program will go lapse. So this kind of impact evaluation studies that lead to transparency of the program. Okay, there is no, there will not be any mismanagement if you are keep on monitoring and evaluating those programs time to time, and accountability. Okay, and then it helps in effective utilization of resources. Suppose if you are finding any misuse or improper utilization of resources, if you are doing this kind of impact studies or monitoring in a proper way, you can avoid this, or you can help in effective utilization of resources. And most of the time it attracts international funding. Now we say that World Bank is funding for majority of the things. Now Bill Gates and some other these famous personalities, any other organization, they are funding for the development of one or other sector. Why they fund? Why they spend a lot of money when they don't have anything in return? Such programs like Millennium Development Goals, which was introduced in 2000, it was funded by the international funding. And Sustainable Development Goals, it was introduced in 2015. This is also funded by. So directly or indirectly, they know that it will be going to help, if not only for the India, for the world itself. So that's why they go for funding these kind of things. So what exactly the impact? How you measure impact? Just now we said the story definition and all. How to measure impact? The causal effect of any program, in definition we can say it is with and without. Here you see the outcome with intervention of any technology, any program or policy, minus or difference of that without. Suppose there is a difference. No? Some people are students studying in IRI, students studying in US, Bangalore, students studying in somewhere. There is a difference. How you measure the impact? So this is how. With and without. Or before and after. So this is ultimately the outcome with the implementation of the program or policies, the difference of this one without the program. So this is, it looks very simple, but when you go for estimating, it needs a lot of data. And of course, nothing is difficult if you feel good. So logic model, mainly extension people, they use this kind of thing. Theoretical, it explains in a better way, so what is impact? See, anything, any program or policy is a project that starts from the inputs. So what are the inputs? Resources which are required to implement a program. Then, once you have the resources or input, you have to do some activities. So what are the activities? By using the inputs, you can start working on that. Okay? Output, if activities are planned in a better way and completed, the desired output should follow. Maybe in your case, you can link, if your parents have money, they'll send you to some good schools or colleges. After 5 days, you whatever the period may be UG for 4 years, you do your activities, studies. On 5 days, what will be the output? You will get the degree. After getting degree, what will happen? It is the outcome. How you serve the society. So that either what it says, outcomes, application or use of outputs to improve people's lives or change behavior of institution. The best example I gave related it to your studies. And finally, it comes to impact. Once you get a good job after the graduation, getting good job is outcome. Okay. And how, what impact that you made to the society. What is that? If expected outcomes occur, there should be long-term changes in system, communities, and organization. If you do work for a good organization, definitely it will change. So this is how, from the inputs, there will be activities, there will be outputs, there will be outcomes, and there will be impact. Suppose most of the our agriculture institutes, including research and universities, research institutes and universities, they are developing varieties. Here, for working on the variety, we need inputs. What activities we do, how many years it will take, maybe 4 years, 5 years, 10 years for development of any variety. Till that we are working, and one fine day your output will come. What is the any improved variety? Okay, that is your technology. Outcome, adoption of those variety in the farmer's field, and finally impact, how it change the farmer's life. The standoffly. This is how you can relate the story. Some example they have given, the same thing what I explained. In the first thing, what they said, in health sector, and in education, and the second thing in health sector. Already I explained this, how, what is exactly this impact analysis, or how this logic model approach says about the impact. Generally we call it as a result chain. The first two things are like inputs and activities. They are planned work. Okay, we have to plan accordingly, and then finally the result will come. That's what I said. Well, during your study period, if you study properly, one fine day you will shine. You will make an impact in the society. And initially, as I said, some people or next generation will read your biography. So this is the way. Impact, when we have to conduct impact, it may be ex ante or ex post impact assessment. In project analysis, I think you have studied also these kind of things, isn't it? So I will not explain. It's before implementing any technology, program or policy ex ante. So how best or how feasible it will be in the farmers field, that we have to do. And once you implement any project or program or policy, that you can conduct ex post impact evaluation. Okay. So at what level that you have to carry the impact analysis? It's not necessary that you should restrict yourself to one particular farmer or particular village or particular community or so. Any level you can carry this impact assessment. At farm level, okay, maybe focusing on yield, income, households, food security, and natural resource management at the farm level. If you consider some particular, maybe generally we do this kind of studies for our MSc and PhD work, isn't it? And if it is, if you are focusing some more, then you can go for the regional or national or sector level studies. Okay, and at the end, what will be there? It will lead to the performance of the economy. What we see there, it is either a national income, a savings, food security, trade, or poverty alleviation, this kind of thing. So impact may be starting from the regional level, you can farm level, regional level, you can go up to the international level, national or international level. So what are the different steps for impact assessment? Generally, you are MSc and PhD people, you already studied the research methodology course. For any kind of research, impact assessment is nothing different from your usual research. But only thing is, we should be very specific to what level and to for which aspect that we are going to conduct the study or impact analysis, and the steps almost remains same. Whatever may be the research, okay, the steps remains same. With modifications. Here mainly we are focusing for the impact of any kind of thing. So here, let me see. First, you select technology or intervention or any project for impact assessment. Just now I gave the example. If you study, if you find this work on MG Narega, the n number of studies, even universities, I think our students also might have conducted some studies on that. So you should know on what aspect that, on what policies or project that we are going to conduct the impact analysis. And then you have to identify the target domain. Which are the target? Generally, we say economic study or socio-economic study, and these are the things we have to consider: the social aspect, whether we are focusing on that, any environmental aspect, or any combination of these things. So we should be very clear before starting our research, which area or which community that we are focusing on. Define the level of impact assessment, as I already said, whether you just focus it on your technology, it is spread at the regional level or state level or country level. Accordingly, you have to plan a program. Then select the comparison method for impact assessment. As I said, what is the comparison method? Generally, we go for, or what way that I mean to relate here. How you compare? In one of the slide I showed with and without. Comparison may be before and after, but every techniques has some advantage and disadvantages. Okay, before and after, with and without, and if you follow the last one, with and without, and combine it before and after, it will give a better result. When you take any kind of studies before and after implementing any project or program, suppose if you are going today for field for getting the data, you don't know what was happened. I said MG Naranga was implemented in 2005-6. What was the situation before that? You may not be knowing. If you have some reports like baseline survey, those before implementing our ex-ante assessment, during that time, if they have prepared any baseline report, what was the situation, that will help now you to compare. before situation and after that. Without that, it is very difficult because you may not be knowing what is the situation. With and without, most of the time, what we see here, the person with implementation of any adoption of any technology and a person without adoption of technology. For the same person, we cannot conduct this or we can do this impact analysis. Why you know? Suppose if you are adopting any technology, you don't know what would have happened without adopting of that technology. That can be that type of information can be gained from the person who has not adopted in those technology. He may be having his different opinion, and the adopter may be having different opinion. So combinedly, if you do with and without, or if you get the prior data for baseline data before and after comparison also, you can do. The next step was the selecting the sample size for evaluating impact. It depends on what kind of methodology that you are going to adopt. There are different methodology even in this book also, sir. You have suggested economic surplus, partial budgeting. Different methodologies require different kind of set of data. So you should be clear that what sample size is required for adopting any different methodologies. Okay, it should be very clear. And then designing baseline survey. Before conducting any large scale impact analysis, you should have a baseline. Suppose you are conducting any study. Now, one of the best thesis that today we saw, tank irrigation. Okay, if she has a baseline data of today, and maybe some of the students from the same division is going to the same region after 10 years, after 15 years, he can compare those baseline data with the next coming situation. Then only we can easily say that this was the situation and this has happened and this is the impact of this technology, isn't it? Then define indicators for impact assessment. It is not necessary that in short span of time or a given period of time, it is not necessary that we can keep in mind all the aspects and we can kind of go for conducting impact assessment. So what you want to see, suppose adoption of any high yielding varieties for a particular region, you will be focusing on yield. So that is the indicator. Once if it has positive impact, that means yield is increased, then you can go for estimating the income of a farmer. Similarly, in that way. So you have to be very specific for what indicator that you are going to study in your analysis. And select appropriate methodology. Most of the time, what happens when we develop a proposal for our MSc PhD students studies, you may not be knowing exactly what will be the methodology, what will be the objectives. Most of the time, we fix the objective and then we look for the methodology, and then we at the last stage we struggle for getting the data, isn't it? And most of the time, students complain that, sir, this data is not getting. This is very difficult. That farmer is not responding. The technology is not successful. Isn't it? So, you should select the appropriate methodology first. You can do some partial budgeting techniques, a small component, okay, and get the data accordingly. Okay. So, and finally, data collection and analysis. Like any similar your studies, impact assessment also has a same sequence. But the thing is, you have to be very specific in some of the things you are getting data on top. Sir, I'm not going to explain any of these techniques or methodology. Just want to say something that these are the most important or basic methodology that we can use for economic measuring the impact of economy. Okay, first three always I have used in most of the cases. Okay, and the last things, these randomized control trial, these are the this need a vast data set, and it is very difficult to conduct for evaluating any our small scale technologies. Okay, but first two or three that you can do a lot. In any field, you can apply this for conducting any kind of impact assessment. I'll not explain this. And for your kind information, sir, you might be knowing this. Does our TNAU has an HEP program? Okay. Then you might be conducting this training and all. Is there the provision?
Yeah. Actually, we have IDP.
Hmm.
Institutional development. So one more is the past. Past is conducting research. Past is focusing on research. So where they connect this kind of capacity building programs on statistical level kind of thing. But other things, IDP, it focuses mainly for the undergraduate students mainly. And developing some non-academic kind of skill. So the Kerala university they have caste.
Okay.
And the IAS they have caste. So they connect periodically this kind of people. Recently, actually, they
IRI is having an HP program, and for the students, they are frequently conducting this training on this statistical tools. Okay. It is free. If you get any opportunity, you just attend those programs. The purpose of today's lecture is just to make you aware, see what is impact assessment and what are the technical methodology that we can use for impact assessment. Yeah, you said.
expert in all statistics softwares. So last year, I think a year ago, so he organized first exclusive capacity building program on statistical tools for social scientists. Yeah, exactly. He covered everything.
Okay. And one more thing, as I said in the beginning slides itself, just our purpose is to make you thirsty. If you wish, you learn your own. Okay. Nowadays, there is no need to go to anywhere, sir. Everyone is having mobile and laptops. You can sit and learn on your own. Okay. So these are the basic techniques for measuring the impact of any program or policy. Now, the last portion of my, I'll share my experience of the soil salinity and natural resource management institute. Sir, this is the data from ICR 2010. They said how much it is. 6.73 million hectare area is affected by salt. And what are the reasons? Just now I said an example of green revolution. And where is the majority of the salt affected area? Where there is low lying is there. Especially this Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, in that Indo-Gangetic belt. Even in Tamil Nadu also, I think we used to conduct some studies. Okay. So you just imagine out of 140 million hectare area, if you find this much is salt affected or it is not useful for cultivating any crops, then what will be the what you can say status of our country? How can we meet the food grain demand of this growing population if we leave this land as it is? And this is the one of the thing why I am highlighting only this one, because our institute is Central Soil Salinity Research Institute that is working on salt affected soil. Now I'll share my experience. So in ICR, just for students' sake, there are 16 institutes which are working on natural resource management. If you go to the ICR website, you will get all these details. And CSSRI, Central Soil Salinity Research Institute, is one among that. And I was fortunate enough to work in that institute. Sir, currently there are many directors and ADG, DDGs from this institute. So, if you look at the picture of this salt affected soils countrywide, you see this is a long back estimation, but till today it is prevailing. It is almost covers 2.26% of the total land area and 4.3% of the arable land. And in this picture, you can see that the black spots where this salt affected soils is spread. And we have, fortunately, in Haryana, we have the main institute. And in West Bengal, you can see some parts where in Sundarban region, there is also that problem. We have the regional station. And then in Gujarat also, we have some another regional station. And somewhere there in UP. So apart from the main institute at Karnal, we have 3 regional stations for wherever this problem is more. And some patches in throughout the country, you can see the salt affected soils. So what happens if your land is degraded? You can see here, Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat is having maximum this area under the salt affected soil, and we have tried to estimate what is the production loss in terms of production and monetary loss. You can see with a huge quantity of food grain that is we are unable to produce with the degradation of this land. And what is the monetary loss at the country level? You can see it's in crores. Okay, major contributing states are your Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat. So for reclamation of these salt affected soils, Soil Salinity Institute has developed many technologies. You might have read in here and there these technologies. Gypsum technology for sodic soil reclamation and subsurface drainage, especially in Maharashtra, Haryana and Gujarat. This now emerging trend implementation of this technology. Of course, apart from that, the technology, Institute has developed some varieties also in those areas. The rice wheat is a dominant crop. So it has developed the rice wheat and mustard crops for Rajasthan and Punjab, Haryana, North Belt. CSR Bio, of course, you should be proud. It is developed from by one of your student only, sir. He was from TNAU. Now he is the director of Central Institute of Subtropical Horticulture, Lucknow. Recently, I think 2-3 months back, Dr. Damodar. His expertise in every field, though he is an horticulturist, his expertise in every field. He is a product of TNAU. So he developed the CSR Bio for enhancing growth in salt affected soil. That also has made an impact on farming community. And groundwater recharge structure, wherever there is low-lying area, if suppose rainfall comes, the crop will damage if it's standing for days together. So during that time, this recharge structure will help. It will we can artificially we can recharge that groundwater and we can save the crops. So these are the major technology developed by the institute. A simple analysis. Not I told you, being in a small institute, which is most of the time it is not easy to do all kind of research. So simple impact analysis or project analysis that we have made. What is the cost for every conducting any program or policies? First, we have to study what will be the cost. And then what is the feasibility or viability criteria that generally we follow in project management techniques. And then we can see this even from the salt affected soils also, you can get back your investment within 2-3 years and farmers can get benefit. So this is how from the reclamation of those here I said that 2 different technologies for sodic and saline soil. So here I am telling about the sodic soil and reclamation of this much, it is how much it is? 20.71 lakh hectare area. There is a impact of our institution. By reclaiming this much area, what will be the contribution at the country level? How much food grains we have produced? Million tons every year. It is almost 16 million tons. Just imagine, if suppose CSRI technologies are not reclaimed this land, then what would be the food grain production in our country? What is the food grain production? I showed in first slide also. 20 million tons. And just deduct this 16 million tons from that. How much it will be? Can we able to feed the growing population? So every small component is important for the development of the nation. And you see what is the income generation from this? It is in crores per annum. Otherwise, if the technology would have not been there, this much will be the loss. And you just think of the fate of the farming community. Just now I showed, even after all these achievements, that poverty line people are around 22%, and this is the additional that may contribute to this again to the poverty if this technology or not. And then some more aspects in another way for development of any technology. What is the purpose? Generation of employment. What is the purpose of giving degree? It's employment. It is for the development of the country. So how much manpower or employment that would have lost if this technology were not there? It is almost 27.96 crore man days per year. Those are working in this salt affected soil, reclaimed salt affected soil. And how many farm families are benefited with this? Almost 18.01 lakhs. It is the number I have given. Sorry. So in another way, reclamation of saline soil, the different technology, you might be, you can see that what is the reclamation technology, how it, the technology will be adopted in the farmer's field. It's a drainage, subsurface, to putting the drainage pipes in the low-lying areas wherever the salt affected or salinity problem is there. How it operates? It removes all your, by infiltration, by leaching, it removes all your it reduces water logging. Apart from that, it removes your salt. So that, so this is one of the successful technology given by CSSRI, and we have worked out the viability of this project. And from different aspects, from the saline soil reclamation, so this is the benefit that farmers are going to benefit. Overall, if you see from these two technologies, how much is the contribution at the country level from that soil salinity research institute? This you can see. Almost, we are producing 17.13 billion tons of food grains. We are contributing this much food grain production to the country level with this income generation, employment, and how many farm families that are benefited. Like that, every technology, every small component, it all depends how you measure the impact. And nowadays, this current government, they are focusing on this kind of studies, and they want the result. They have spent for the development of the nation or any field, they have spent crores together, and what will be the impact? Of course, it is there, but we have not made an effort to measure it and to tell them back. So I appreciate, sir. I think this is the only study that you have done and compared to other institutes. So I don't think any institute have done this kind of analysis. So this is my own picture, sir. With and without technology, what will be the field situation for rice and wheat crop? You can see the patches from left side and the successful crop right side. In commercial crops like sugarcane and cotton also, we did some kind of study. Okay, this is the situation. I told that Sarai had developed a lot of salt tolerant varieties also. Some of the varieties are most successful at the farmers field. And you might be knowing, sir, CSR 30. It's the only salt tolerant variety, basmati variety in the world. And that is doing well. And when government asked, we did some kind of impact study also. You can see in this book by using the economic surplus model that we did, and they were happy that at least one single variety is contributing this much at the country level. So this is how the overall rice, wheat, and mustard crop varieties that is contributing at the. This is the impact that you can say at the country level. Though we did it long back, but after that I left the institute. Okay, and I said this basmati. It is the only variety is doing a lot of contributing in this affected areas for the farmers' income. Sir, can you imagine why this picture, this graph? Actually, by using this economic surplus model, altogether we made an impact. For the from the 2000 or 2001, this variety was released. Until date, we did the overall impact. But when you sent to the report to the DG, they returned back and they said that government is asking what was the situation before 2013. You can imagine before 2014 it was Congress government, Manmohan Singh was the prime minister, and they want to know after the BJP government what is the situation, what is the impact that So this is how they expect that the impact of any technology, and we did it. Of course, it is for 3 years, but for the sake of comparison, we took a constant price. Otherwise, in current prices, it will be much different because basmati rice, this CSR 30, once it fetched rupees 6,000 per quintal. And you just see sometime before 2013, it may be 1,000 unit. And if you work at the current prices, it will give a lot of difference. So we worked at the constant prices, and finally they accepted it. So this is the major contribution it has come in this book also. As I said, CSR Bio, the eco-friendly bio-growth enhancer. We could able to conduct some studies. See the pictures. There's a one photograph where the CSR bio is adopted, and in another field it is. So this is the situation. A small contribution also makes a lot of difference in the farmer's life. Okay. For this also, a simple study we conducted, and for the adapters and non-adapters, what are the difference that we have seen? So this is how small examples that we have seen in the farmers field. Why this table? Because most of the time we go for the primary survey and we collect the data from the farmers, and we don't know exactly what will be the situation, whether whatever they said it is right or not. So I suggest you just go through the Government of India site, and for every crop state-wise the cost of cultivation data they have given, and try to compare and just see that how far variation that your data is giving. I'm not saying that they have given it for state average, but at least you should get some clarity that whatever you are doing is right or not. And if you go in depth, what what are different component that comes under A1, A2, and up to C2, that is also you can find from the cost of cultivation data of India. Okay, just compare, and instead of presenting whatever the data you got from you just compare previous studies, not only this, many other past studies also. Okay, so that's why I just wanted to show this. Keep in touch with this Government of India sites. Okay, for economics, any especially this. What is that? Ministry of Agriculture, especially for data. For any kind of project analysis, that you have to do sensitivity analysis. Otherwise, because the situation last year, it may not be same as today. And now you see, even we are crossing almost moving to July, till the monsoon has not yet arrived. So one particular figure or picture you cannot give. Always in your study, especially when you are doing an impact kind of thing or project analysis, you just go for doing this sensitivity analysis. Because one particular picture or figure, it may not be clear. Okay. If this happens, what will be the situation? 10% cost increases, what will be the situation? If 5% price decreases, what will be the situation? So this is a sensitivity analysis you must do for your project, any kind of studies. So with this, I'll end my presentation. Okay, this just for the sake of their knowledge. I said the different agencies that which are preparing the reports of these different indexes and where we stand in comparison to world. I thought it will help to them. Okay, so with this, I think I'll stop my presentation.
Now you can ask.
Ask the examiner.
So students can ask questions because the presentation is very nice, and the students are concerned this is a little higher level presentation. So they should have so many doubts or clarity.
But one request, sir. Of course, sir is enough to guide the student. If you get the opportunity, keep in touch with the ARI, and every now and then they are conducting the special programs under NIHP, National Higher Education Program. So you just try to attend. That is, we will give a different exposure.
Last week of our advertisement on the statistical analysis for student ideas being organized by ASR. ASR is frequently organizing this kind of.
Yes. They paid TAD also, there is no need to worry.
Before the half more than that. So on their their cards. Actually, my call is given a big picture about having very big networks. The explored of the key is where you are and then we started its presentation. From scratch to very high level. Particularly the impact and the way in which she put everything is the really very much impressive. Since I'm working on impact long back, so it's a very, very good, excellent. And not only subject, also we started, in principles of